Hello, everybody. Drew Dosek here with Verified Investing. Today, we're going to go over some market movers that are really shaking up the market, and they're mainly all in the semiconductor space. We've got one energy company we're going to go over, but all of it, guys, is just really into this AI data center build out. As we know, the semiconductors continue to push and make new all-time highs. A lot of that being pushed even more so today because of Intel's earnings. All right, guys, so let's take a look at the charts. Start off with Intel. Might as well. This one has been moving the markets today. As you can see, beautiful push up now, over 21%, price trading at $80.88. Got as high though as $85. And you can see the close here right on your screen at $66.39. So if I go back further, and actually it was, the close, 66.78. But you notice price was all consolidating right here before this earnings report. Now, let me scroll back time so I can show you why your screen looks blue. It's because I've got a couple sequences of parallel channels. And so let me reset this chart, pull you all the way back to show you the origin of this. And guys, this was right before the dot-com bubble burst, was really containing Intel, this parallel for all of the previous 25, 26 years until just most recently when we exploded going upwards. And that's when I created this smaller inclining parallel channel that you see to kind of give us some insight as to where's this move going to go, because this blow off is truly remarkable. Now, yes, we've been contained in this parallel, like I said, about 26 years. It was only until today when price exploded above this. So this is a very, very significant breakout. Now, a couple things first, guys, just please remember this. Whenever you have a significant breakout over any sort of trend line and or parallel, price generally likes to come back and test where it broke out. Well, that will be on this inclining parallel channel. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen tomorrow or next week or any specific day, but once we get a rollover in these markets from going to all-time highs, we likely will have Intel come back and retest the top of this parallel right around $68.09. Before it does that, though, I see this 50% area of the parallel in which it's likely going to come in contact with first and likely bounce. So even if, say, we chop sideways, fall down some, that will pull the value to around $73.27. So it's not an outlandish possibility for us to have any sort of pullbacks and retest not only this broken trend line, which is the 50% area of this parallel, but then the top end of the longer range parallel that I described. For today's price action, this is one of the cool things, guys, you could do. You use trend lines to help you find out where price is going to put on the brakes. And I was looking and looking and looking all through all these pivots, which one was going to match up best for translating to where price put on the brakes today. And what I found here was a level back on this pivot. And whenever you're doing this sort of method, folks, you've got to find pivots. You can't just randomly choose a point on any bit of this price action. You need to choose major pivots that occurred. So I went back to December, the week of December 10th of 2007. If you see, if I connect a trend line over to this pivot high that occurred in January of 2020, you can see that we do have price running straight into that level today and getting rejected. Now let's zoom back into the daily time frame to see this. So right now, near term, this trend line is going to be the level of resistance for Intel to keep marching up. That level is $83.90. This is a very long-term inclining trend line. You can see the value of this does not increase that much when I go through all these future dates. It's only up to $84.62 by July 6th. All right. So if Intel, though, beats this trend line, the top of this parallel is going to be the next significant level of resistance. That does make sense, especially when we're getting over here closer towards the $100 number. Guys, psychologically, $100 is where a lot of people will be taking profits. So that's an area there that is on the top of the parallel. But should we go march straight up, we're going to be looking right around $93.12. Impressive move here on Intel, all the while extremely overbought near term, 81.27 on the daily, and on the weekly, you can see here it's not even registering at the moment. Here, let's reset it and see if my RSI, there we go, 82.18, some of the highest, guys, it has ever been. You can see back here in 2017, we were rivaling these levels, and then you have to go all the way back to 2014 before we get as extreme near-term overbought that we are right now. So very impressive move there on Intel. Next up, another big market mover this week is Texas Instruments. They reported earnings earlier in the week. As you can see here, had a significant beat on earnings per share, 23%, and a 6% beat there on revenue. And Texas Instruments exploded out of its longer-term parallel, very much similar to what Intel is doing. Now, this parallel wasn't as long as Intel's. This was only going back to the COVID lows, as you see here on the chart. Now, price this week accelerated, pushed higher, much like Intel's, guys, breaking through two different inclining parallel channels. We can see we started trickling up there here last week on Friday. Here we did on Monday, confirmed above this longer term parallel channel, in which case I then started drawing this parallel, trying to determine, all right, where's Texas Instruments going to go if we start pushing up? And then we gapped up over this resistance, roughly at $250. I thought that was going to be a perfect spot if we didn't have extraordinary earnings here on Texas Instruments, but you can see clearly we did, and we accelerated. We even gapped up over the top range of this resistance, opening up roughly around $260. Then we continued pushing higher, and you can notice we just kissed this trend line resistance roughly today at 290 and 43 cents. The high today, though, is at 287 and 83 cents. So I've got a couple different levels here. Obviously, one, notate that this trend line, the upper range of current resistance and price action, way overbought on Texas Instruments, looking like we need to cool off. Cooling off involves either chopping sideways or pulling back. Now, the first area of support that I see here for Texas Instruments is at $257.62. But just beware, we haven't confirmed up above this parallel. We've confirmed up above this parallel. So this would be a more solid level of support. We're certainly going to have to test this range if price comes back in to see if this will hold. I would say about a 30 to 40% chance it does hold. All depends on how it gets back in here. And in fact, if it does, I mean, because really, we're looking at a lot of these charts blowing through incredible levels, but I've seen this long enough with these huge moves, guys. They usually stall out, either chop sideways and or pull back. I know we've had big developments in the tech industry, but that's just how the markets work, guys. Now, yes, we have price discovery mode, so we very well could pull up here, chop sideways, tag the top end of this parallel like what I described, and then continue marching higher. Very well just say goodbye to retesting the top of this parallel in the most immediate near term. But just please note, this parallel continues rising the longer I extend that. Eventually, price will come back down and tag the top end of this parallel, whether that's a 231 or a 250 sometime in 2028, we'll find out. Next up, AVGO. Now, AVGO, as we see here, also great accelerated push. We were down here, guys, not that long ago, March 30th, sub 290, and now we've pushed up on AVGO up to 45%. Guys, not only did we do that, AVGO accomplished a major feat. Look at this market cap value down here at the bottom of my screen. It's now at $2 trillion. There's only been 6 companies to accomplish this feat. NVIDIA, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, and now AVGO. So AVGO has a new badge or pin to put on its lapel, if you will. It is definitely in a very good situation. Now, notice, though, here was the previous all-time highs. I've got a trend line drawn straight across from that at $412.95. The last 2 trading days, we have not yet confirmed this break above the all-time highs. I'm still watching that. We're overbought. Likelihood is price should be coming back in. I know there's a lot of enthusiasm and momentum behind tech stocks, but these sort of moves, guys, they generally don't end well. They usually end with a lot of profit takers and then panic selling, even if the fundamentals are good, and they are here for AVGO. Obviously, $2 trillion company now, and new partnership deals left and right. So it's definitely on the up and up, but just this has gone too fast and gone too quickly up to the upside. So to me, I'm anticipating if this does not confirm, one way for it to do it is to push up over this green candle on April 22nd. The high there is $423.20. You need to push up above that and close. Then I'd feel better about us maintaining above this previous all-time high. If we don't do that anytime soon, probabilities are actually leaning towards price coming back, retesting this 50% area, which it already confirmed above. This 50% area is around $400, and then continuing another bounce. So that's what I'm seeing near term on AVGO. If this continues marching straight up, top of the parallels resistance at $482. Next up, this is This is a real big market mover. Now, Marvell has recently kind of pivoted in some of their technology, even focusing a lot more on new AI developments and workouts. And so it's accelerated up not only with revenue and new contracts, but right here on the charts too, pushing up, man, incredibly over 95% to the highs here since the low that occurred on March 31st. Unbelievable, guys. So huge push up on Marvell, breaking out of this parallel channel. The only pause you can see here, just like 4 trading days before exploding up to the upside, extremely overbought. So much like the Intel chart, as well as Texas Instruments, I got to go back on the charts, try to find major pivots, connect them over with current pivots to see where we're currently going to be running into resistance. And if you see, I've got a couple trend lines at play. First one as resistance at $175 Pierce, right at $175.70, followed by the second one up here. And let me scroll down the screen just a tiny bit at 185. So right there in that range, it's going to be a lot of effort for Marvell to keep pushing through that range, considering how overbought we are. And just like I explained on the other charts, whenever the steam cools off, we're likely coming back to retest the top of this parallel at $142. Keep that in mind, folks, for any of those still long in MRVL. Next up, another tech company busting through the top end of a parallel channel. This one, ARM, struggling doing so today. You can see on the 10-minute chart pushing above, getting back beneath, and fighting later on in here in the day here to try to finish up on the higher range of this parallel. That will be a good accomplishment, but still just one candle push up. You would need to see a secondary push to confirm above that parallel for any sort of support to provide a bounce at $232 on top of that parallel. But you see, as I said, overbought 86.92 on the daily RSI, weekly at 78.81, and any sort of push up likely is going to stall out. We'll see if we do get a confirmation next week, and that will give you a range of which it would be bullish to consolidate, mainly on top of the parallel. If we can't confirm on top of that parallel, price action is likely to come down, hit this inclining trend line at $211, or this inclining trend line, whichever one comes first. You could see there's 2 significant levels where price has broken out of recently, where it likely wants to come back in and retest. 211.80 is that spot. That breaks, we're looking at 185.09. Lastly, into BE, Bloom Energy, another stock way up at the top of the charts. This one overextended, especially compared to its competitors, a lot of which, Bloom is profitable, but it's not doing as well as it is all the way up here, justifying a massive push from 116 up to 233 in the last couple of weeks, over 100% push. Now, a lot of this is off of AI data center energy supplies and satisfying those orders. Bloom Energy just got a lot of contracts, is pushed up very, very nicely, tagging the top end of this parallel. I do see this potentially stalling, coming back down, retesting these pivots at bare minimum. You can see this consolidation on top, right or under $220, right around $219, just because we're just too extended. The 232 range, 243 and 242 range is currently right at the top of that parallel. Keep that in mind in case we do have a gap up on Monday, as that will be a level to keep in mind for continued upward momentum. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching, as these have been major market movers here, no doubt about it. Big, huge rips on the semiconductors. Obviously, I gave you a lot of information there on those stocks as far as levels. Please keep in mind the education too, the educational on parallels and the education on those trend lines, how to draw them, where to look for them, especially when charts start breaking out like we've seen this week. All right, guys, thanks again for watching. We'll have more charts to you and info coming later this week. Until then, you guys have a fantastic weekend. Take care.